How badly do you want to change your life? If you could change everything tomorrow, would you? What if you could change only the bad, leaving all the good? Does that sound tempting? Often, when we're thinking about change, we're thinking about the next step. Where do you have to go? But the piece that you might be overlooking is what you have to let go of in order to take that next step forward. Sometimes change happens slowly and takes a long time, like the slow drip that carves the Grand Canyon over centuries. But when you're able to release the things that are holding you back, that's when change happens quickly, like an avalanche. Not at all, and then all at once. Welcome to Change Made Easy. Changing your habits, routines, and behaviors is hard. We make it easy. I'm Paul Levitin, a behavior change coach of over 12 years who's been helping people just like you create positive change in their health, wealth, and relationships. Alan Watts said, "The only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance." Fighting against the inevitabilities of change feels like swimming against a current that's actively sweeping you away. There's no way that feels good. You feel like you're out of control. It wastes your energy, and eventually you're always going to give up because it's a futile effort. So you want to learn to lean into change so you can go with the flow. But the problem could be the anchors of your past experiences that are weighing you down, and that's what keeps you stuck. So today, I'm going to explain the key 3 mindset shifts that you have to embrace in order to release what's been holding you back so that you can start swimming with the current of change. Action is the antidote. You might have heard that before, especially if you're the type of person who listens to podcasts like this. When you're feeling stuck, the thing to do is just go. Make a move. No matter what it is, it's better than staying still. And that is true. Yet, when I'm feeling stuck, it really isn't that helpful. So the question is, how do you get yourself going when it feels like you're stuck in the mud and that any extra effort that you put in is just going to spin your wheels and get dirt all over the place rather than actually move you forward? When it comes to getting unstuck, I do agree that taking action is necessary. But I've come to find that there are certain mindset shifts that you have to have that precede action. Ways of thinking that will nudge you forward when the time comes. Because in my experience, in my years as a coach helping people create change, a lot of people being stuck tends to come from them holding on to their old ways of thinking, old ways of being and believing. So when you think about change, think about it like installing the proper programming on a new computer. So the earlier you install that new software, the more you get to use it, the more you get used to it, the easier it gets over time. When you first install a new program or get a new iOS on your phone, it feels weird, it feels alien. But 6 months later, a year later, it feels second nature. But that won't do any good if you have your old programming still running in the background. So the first thing you have to do before you even worry about learning the new programming is to uninstall that old programming, uninstall the malware. You have to drag it right to the trash and click empty. So here are 3 things that you need to release in order to get unstuck and start moving forward. The first is releasing expectations. Specifically, expectations about the way things need to play out in order for you to feel successful. The Buddha said that attachment is the root of all suffering. And 2 of the things that we are most attached to are the way things are and the expectation of the way that we want them to be. You have to understand that even if you theoretically want things to change, you can still be attached to what you have because you're attached to the status quo. You're attached to the way things are because it's safe, and our body craves safety and security. So even though you can say with your conscious mind, well, of course I want to create this positive change, staying where you are still feels good to you because the known is always better than the unknown. I've talked about this a lot on previous episodes like Escaping Expectations with Laura Poburin and episode 120 titled The Expectation Effect. And I've linked to both of those in the show notes, so go check those out after this episode finishes for more on the topic of expectations specifically. But today I want to talk about the attachment to expectations. Because if you follow the Buddha's logic, which is hard to argue, it would seem that the answer is to just expect nothing. If all suffering comes from expectations, then expect nothing and there will be no suffering. But that might not be realistic for everyone. The Buddha lived in a different time. We live in a modern world, in a global economy. You have bills and family and things that need to get done. So it's natural to have expectations. You go to work because you expect to get paid. You tell your kids to clean their room and you expect it to get done in a timely manner. The issue comes when you hold on too tightly to that expectation, because that tight hold is then what keeps you stuck. If you expect a certain outcome and only that one precise outcome will suffice, then that serves as subconscious cannon fodder to actually push you towards not acting on that outcome. I am so pumped to tell you about my partnership with My Body Tutor. My Body Tutor is the world's leading nutrition coaching platform that helps people find their healthy weight and keep it forever through sustainable habit change. If you listen to this show, you know that we do not suffer from a lack of information. Most people know what they need to change. The problem is actually sticking to it long enough to see results. When it comes to diet, exercise, and getting in shape, My Body Tutor solves this problem by giving you customized plans, one-on-one coaching, and daily accountability. As a bonus for you, they are offering $50 off your first month. What makes My Body Tutor so unique is they offer daily accountability with a real human coach. That's someone to check in with you, talk to, plan with, someone who can help you when things are going hard. It's not ChatGPT, it's not some algorithm. This is a real human. I know because I'm one of them. I have been working with My Body Tutor as one of their tutors since 2020. With so much nonsense and misinformation and just bad actors out in the health and wellness space, My Body Tutor is helping people the real way. They are changing lives. I've seen it firsthand, and I'm honored to be a part of it. Check out mybodytutor.com, where you can see hundreds of testimonials and reviews. And remember, listeners of this show get $50 off their first month. Just click the link in the show notes or go to mybodytutor.com and tell them Paul from Change Made Easy sent you in your intake questionnaire, and you'll automatically get a huge discount. On top of that, they offer a money-back, risk-free guarantee. So this is really a no-brainer. And like I said, I really do work for them. So if you've ever wanted to work with me personally, you can even request to have me as your body tutor. How cool would that be? Once again, just say Paul sent you and get $50 off your first month, start with no risk, and see how the power of a coach with daily accountability can literally change your life. And it sounds backwards, but that's how your brain works. If you want outcome A, but you realize that there's a reasonable chance that you are going to end up with outcome B, C, all the way through Z, then that actually becomes demotivating no matter how much you want A. It becomes a reason to stay stuck, because what's worse than not getting the thing you want is trying and failing. And we're going to come back to that in a little bit. But even though you can say consciously, well, of course I want A, of course I want change. As the old quote goes, better the devil you know. You will stay stuck with the familiar, keeping what you're used to, even if it's what you do not want, because it's easier than trying to get something that you expect and failing. So the right solution would be to accept that, yes, I do want A, I do want ideal outcome, but I also understand that I might get B, C, D, E, or F, and although it wouldn't be ideal, I would have to live with it. And yes, that means there is a possibility that I'll end up with X, Y, or Z, and that would be not what I want, even potentially harmful, but realistically, there's a very small chance that that happens, so I'm able to move forward and act. By releasing your stranglehold on how it has to play out, that frees you up to at least try. If you consider success to only be a bullseye, then it becomes safer to hold your darts. But if you realize that all you have to do is get on the board, then you're more inclined to let them fly. So expect results, but be okay with the possibility that they might not play out the way you want them to. Release your stranglehold on expectations. Use expectations to motivate you, but don't let them be the beginning and the end of the story. The second release is to release societal stress. So ask yourself, are the things that you're looking to change, the things that are potentially stressing you out, keeping you up at night, keeping you stuck? Are these things that you even want to begin with? And this comes down to something I talk about a lot on this show and when I'm guests on other people's podcasts, knowledge of self. Are you doing something because you actually want to? Because often when you're stuck, it's because you're trying to get yourself to do something that you really deep down don't want to do. It might be something that you've been told to do, something you feel like you have to do, something you quote unquote should do. But what you need to ask yourself is, where do these desires come from? Because if it's something that you yourself actually wanted, then you probably wouldn't be feeling so much resistance towards taking the necessary action to get it. And especially these days, there's so much programming that comes from outside of you. Expectations, there's that word again, that come from your job, your family, your partner, marketing, society, the world. But what do you want? If you can figure that out, you'll find that action comes much more naturally. And that feeling of stuckness seems to just not appear anymore. The key is to learn to separate what you want from what is wanted from you. And the third thing to release is releasing the relationship you have with fear as being a negative emotion. Because we all know what fear is. Fear is the feeling that stuckness is built on top of. Fear is one of the most ancient emotions. And you probably know that feeling of fear. It's a pit in your stomach, sweaty palms, heart racing. These are the natural physiological responses when something potentially life-threatening occurs. But do you know what else causes these same responses? Excitement, like riding a roller coaster or rolling down a hill really fast on your bike. Or euphoria, like the first kiss with your true love. Or intensity, like a challenging workout. So what can seem like to you as a negative experience, flat out, we actually see can be up for interpretation. Personally, I've learned that when I feel that push away from something, that guttural fear response, for me, it usually means that I actually need to dig into that thing more. I have to investigate that feeling. I use it as a trigger now. So a few years ago, when I was debating quitting my job, I kept getting these gut feelings of fear. And I would use that to then try to justify staying where I was and not quitting. I would feel afraid and I'd go, well, this is a good job. It's a good gig. I get paid well. It's safe, yada, yada, yada. I was afraid. And that fear was pushing me away from taking the action that I actually wanted. But that's when I decided to take that feeling that I was interpreting as fear and investigate it. Because what was I afraid of? What was this trying to protect me from? Who said that this had to be something I needed to be protected from in the first place? What if I thought about that pit in my stomach, that heart-racing, sweaty palm as curiosity? Like an archaeologist about to unearth the biggest find of their career, there's nothing to fear there, but it's still tense. They're still excited, ready to take on that next step and see what is going to be uncovered. And that's when I realized, this feeling isn't telling me to stay. It's telling me that I have to take the leap. I have to quit my job. Similarly, when I first started running, my chest would hurt and I would literally find myself saying out loud, like, I hate this. And then, because I've trained my brain to look at things differently, my next thought was, okay, that means I have to do this more. Because there's a large gap between what your subconscious body interprets as fear and what you actually have to be afraid of. So let go of the thought that feeling afraid means that there's actually something to fear. And embrace the possibility that a feeling of fear could be exactly the sign that you're headed in the right direction. Nothing great or worth having comes without risk. If everything feels safe, that is telling you that you're staying complacent. So flip the script and lean into fear. Use that as your guiding light to push you towards taking the leaps you need to get to where you want to go. Because when it comes down to it, nothing can actually make you go but you. I've been a coach for over a decade and a half, and if I had a magic answer to make you get up and take action and do the shit you actually need to be doing, well, I'd be a very rich person. The reality is you're fighting against thousands of generations of biological programming that embraces and loves stuckness. So you are not broken. You are not weird. This is just human nature. And while there is no for sure one-shot solution, the best chance you have is to start to reprogram your brain now. Install that new programming so you can start to get used to it over and over and over. And to do that, you need to release what isn't serving you. That way, you'll be more easily able to float to where you want to go rather than swimming against a current. Remember, the best time to plant a tree was 50 years ago. The next best time is today. Being stuck is simultaneously the worst feeling, but also somehow a safe space that your body and subconscious crave. That's the paradox. While it feels like safety, if you have dreams and ambitions, which I know you do, it's a trap that you have to free yourself from. And to do that, remember these 3 key thoughts. Release expectations around results having to look a certain way. It's okay to have expectations, but embrace uncertainty and release control. Release the stress put on you by society. Dig into the thought of who is it that really wants that outcome. Figure out what you actually want. And if it isn't you, who's asking you to do these things? And lastly, release the thought that fear is solely a negative emotion. Flip the switch and remember that what feels like fear can also be excitement, or the struggle from a good workout, or motivation to push you towards something that is going to move you forward. The more you integrate this into your brain, the more chances you have of shaking yourself into action the next time you need to, and the less time you'll find yourself stuck and spinning your wheels in the mud. And that is change made easy. If you're working on changing your diet, exercise, or other habits around food and fitness, you have to check out My Body Tutor. My Body Tutor is the world's leading nutrition coaching platform that helps people find their healthy weight and keep it forever through sustainable habit change. And you know, as a listener of this show, that when it comes to creating change, it's all about sustainability and consistency. And when it comes to diet, exercise, and getting in shape, My Body Tutor solves the problem of consistency through one-on-one coaching, customized plans, and daily accountability. And as a bonus for you, they're offering $50 off your first month. But what really makes My Body Tutor so unique is they offer daily accountability with a real human coach. And I know because I'm one of them. I have been working with My Body Tutor since 2020. There's so much misinformation, so much nonsense out there in the health and wellness space, but not with My Body Tutor. My Body Tutor is the real deal. They are changing lives. I've seen it, I've been a part of it, and I'm honored to continue to grow with them. And you don't have to take my word for it. Check out mybodytutor.com, where you will see hundreds of testimonials and reviews. And as a special bonus, for listeners of this show, you will get $50 off your first month. Just click the link in the show notes or go to mybodytutor.com and tell them Paul from Change Made Easy sent you in your intake questionnaire, and you'll automatically get a huge discount. And remember, they offer a money-back, risk-free guarantee, so this is a no-brainer for you. And no joke, I really do work for them. So if you want to work with me personally, ask for Paul as your tutor. Once again, tell them Paul from Change Made Easy sent you for $50 off your first month. Start with no risk and see how the power of a coach with daily accountability can literally change your life.